Hey guys, how are you now?
How are you? Not so bad. Good and you? Not so bad. Hold on. Wait. We ain't got time for the pleasantries, all right?
Right, yeah, no, let's just get right into it. I'm Will Help, and this could help. Right, so last we left off, we had learned that we communicate our emotions most often with nonverbal sounds and body language and facial expressions. We learned that every emotion has kind of a no-doy obvious sound that we make, when we feel it, except for love. I called it the riddle of the missing sound, and we learned that we make this sound when we love openly and without aim, and that this is called the genuine laugh. And we also learned that seemingly the only reason it wasn't no-doy obvious that laughter is the sound of love is because we mostly tend to love with aim. So that's the type of love we tend to think of. So yeah, now that I've identified one type of laughter, we're going to lightly touch on what mankind has theorized as a reason for laughter up to this point. But I am sorry, I'm not going to be talking about the breaking laugh today. As much as I would like to, I find that I've put myself in a bit of a bind by stating that I would address that laugh in this episode. I put myself in a similar but much smaller bind when I said I'd give you guys the answer to the riddle of the missing sound right away. But in fact, I had to lay some of the groundwork first for why it's the answer to the riddle. That was similar to this, but this time there's a lot more groundwork needs to be covered. A similar situation, folks. Your old pal Will done paid himself into another corner. And I didn't really realize that right away, not at all. No, I wrote and recorded an 11-minute episode in which I introduce you to the 3 historically rallied behind beliefs of why something's funny, introduce you to Dr. Peter McGraw and Caleb Warren's benign violation theory, the most recent big one. Is it brilliant? And then I was going to give you an overview of the breaking laugh, and then I started recording. Setup had to be done 4 times. One by one, I'd ruin a take after take due to small but vital equipment issues. One of the cameras would choose to stop filming. Apparently, one of the cameras turned on voice control, and so when I was mentioning all this stop recording stuff, it would stop recording on that camera, and so I'd lose all the takes there. I lost an entire day to formats, where the cameras changed formats, just did their own thing, One camera only has one battery, and so it had to be recharged to full before I could go back to shooting when it ran out. But eventually I got to the point where I thought I had enough footage to knit together the episode. And I kept having doubts about this episode, and then after I spent a day with it at work because I couldn't film, I realized that I had done this wrong. The breaking laugh didn't have the impact that it should, mainly because it's a brief overview and we don't even touch on why the breaking laugh is so important. We don't touch on why we choose to do the breaking laugh or why it became so popular. You really have to set the stage for that one because it is a bring down the house kind of moment thing. It's the one that made me question my own sanity for a time because nobody else was saying this, and it was kind of mind-bending. We've only really touched on its sister laugh so far, the genuine laugh, and we haven't even addressed the cacophony yet, and how can I expect you to understand the breaking laugh if we can't even talk about the cacophony? I know that doesn't make sense, but it will. So yeah, I stood there looking at all the footage I'd taken so far, and I deleted it, and I rewrote the script for it, and you're actually hearing the script for it now. So far, so good. Everything's recording okay, so let us hope. It took me some time to realize that all these little failures, these little things that just would not let me get the thing done, they were just giant billboard signs that were dropped in my path. And what did I do? I did what I do when I come across obstacles. I went head on to it. I shouldered in and I tucked my chin and bashed right through every one of them. Hey, Will, stop. I got this. I just realized I'm going to have to rewrite the entire series. And the book. Yeah, okay, so as I'm always saying that as an artist, you have to be willing to erase half the page if it's wrong. Yeah, for now, I'm going to give you a little more than half of that episode, which, while we won't be getting into the breaking laugh yet, just know that we're moving towards it, along with quite a few other big fish in the concept pond. Yeah, you're going to feel it when it hits. Here we go. Laughter has long been the addictive subject of speculation among scientists and psychologists, drawing great minds towards its nebulous mystery. Why do we laugh? Why is something funny? You used to spend a lot of time as an early teen sitting in a quiet place trying to riddle out by way of logic the answers to burning questions that I'd stumbled upon. And I really clearly remember the day I stumbled across why is something funny in one of those sessions. And there wasn't even a footpath at the beginning of that mystery. It was like approaching not quite a void, but this hurricane of concepts that jumbled and squished and changed. The moment I approached the question with my mind, I immediately felt a deep apprehension, bordering on dread. Like I dare not tread here, for this way lies madness. I'd imagine that's why so many famously brilliant people threw their minds against this question. Socrates, Aristotle, Einstein, Freud, Darwin, Plato, Peter McGraw, Locke, G. Stanley Hall, Schopenhauer, Kant, Hobbes, Nietzsche.
Dr. Emil Schaffhausen. Saussure.
A lot of smart people have thrown their hats into this ring. After all, it is one of the double black diamonds of questions, an Olympic event of the intellect. But it makes sense for them to be drawn to this topic. Laughter is a quintessential part of the foundation of being a human being. Laughter is now believed by entomologists to be the very first vocalized language human beings developed, its purpose being a social gesture to gain others' trust and a way to signal that danger had passed. It's the simplest nonverbal communication sound we make, merely a flexing of the diaphragm which causes a rhythmic squeezing of the lungs, and most people don't even modulate the pitch of the sound with their vocal cords. It seems to be something that is both at the core of us and frequently synonymous with being happy, and no wonder it's drawn so much interest. So yeah, the three historically rallied behind theories are superiority theory, relief theory, and incongruity theory. Oh, and then super recently, benign violation theory. Superiority theory was the first one proposed and proponented by the very first philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. This theory basically says that we laugh when we feel superior to someone and look down our nose at them. A person is an idiot or had bad luck, and we get a laugh at their misfortune. The second theory is relief theory, which states that laughter is the natural pent-up energy release for nervousness. Freud speculated that a lot of our emotions build up an energy within us, and that you can either address the issue and the energy dissolves or dissipates, or you can let that energy out. If you're angry, attacking or hitting something will uncap that buildup. If you're sad, you blow that buildup out of you with a good, solid cry. He hypothesized that laughter was the only way we had to release nervous, uncomfortable energy. And the third theory is incongruity. It's something you're not surprised! something you're not expecting, that is incongruent with your expectations of what would come next. It's the unexpected turn in a situation. And it sort of builds off of relief theory in a way, doesn't it? It's the release of energy created when things took a sudden, unexpected turn. Once we know that it's okay that it took that turn, we would need some way to release that energy buildup from the surprise. We don't really need the energy because it's all right, it's fine, it's good. This brings us to the most recent theory on the list. I found out about benign violation theory while researching in Gelology for signs of the breaking laugh and other theories, as I did with the other theories. Dr. Peter McGraw, you know what? Can I take just a second to tell you about this guy? Whatever, I'm going to tell you about the guy. He's the head of the Humor Resources Lab, or HURL, and teaches behavioral economics at the University of Colorado Boulder. And in 2010, he and Caleb Warren produced a paper and had published called Benign Violations, Making Immoral Behavior Funny. And then they did a much more trimmed down, simplified version called Benign Violation Theory in 2014. The first one was published in Psychological Science, and the second one in the Encyclopedia of Humor Studies. Now, I mean, look at this. The guy changed the game in less than 2 pages, if you don't count his citations, which I don't. Dr. McGraw, you are my hero. I'ma hug you if I ever see you. He also co-authored the Humor Code, Global Search for Things that, Global Search for What Makes Things Funny, in which he and a journalist traveled around the world trying to figure out similarities in cultures and why we laugh, and even put what they had found to the test by doing a stand-up set written by Peter McGraw and performed by him at a comedy festival. It's a good read. Right, so, what is benign violation theory? Well, the gist of the surprisingly short paper is that there must be a balance between the benign elements and the violation elements for humor to occur. Imagine you have a Venn diagram with 2 circles. Nope. Actually, just remember, I can draw really well. Okay, so this one here is benign, and this one is violation. Now, the stuff that falls into the benign circle would be things that are unchanged, comforting, normal, non-offensive, non-threatening, predictable, and safe. Violation elements are a bit harder to describe. They're the unpredictable, something that's not right, something that threatens, that element that makes a joke too far. Now, here in the middle, we have humor, but not all of the overlap is where humor lives. In fact, it moves around. In fact, there needs to be a bit of both in the balance. But the balance is set by the nature of the relationship between the listener of the joke / viewer of the situation and the teller of the joke / lander of the platform. If the 2 people are close, then the benign would normally outweigh the violation. Something as simple as a very small stumble while 2 best friends are walking can easily result in out loud laughter, infectious giggling, or even full-blown hee-hawing, because the violation was kept at the minimal. For a mere half-second, there was the tiniest threat of danger, one that was so tiny it passed before either friend knew what was happening. Inversely, a person you've never met, or even better, is entirely fictitious, is allowed a lot more violation. And I would propose that another huge factor in how much violation and how much benign need to go into the mix would be dependent on the intactness of that individual's compassion. About a year ago, I came up with a loosely supporting experiment to see if we could see a benign violation in action in a quantifiable data set. I noticed that a very popular card game with a huge following was the perfect way to do that. With Cards Against Humanity, much like their black and white theme, the white cards fall into two categories pretty neatly, as do the black cards: benign and violation. I hosted several games in my home, making sure to use different people for each game, and while I was allowed to submit a white card each round and win black cards, potentially winning the game, I skipped turns as the reader of the black card and the judge of the white cards. Now, while we were playing, I would keep tabs on what categories each of the winning card combinations were, and only 2 of the possible 3 combinations emerged in 176 hands. Benign and violation pairings were in the lead, followed pretty closely by benign and benign combinations. But violation pairings were a rarity, only winning a hand once during the experiment. And that was because the 2 players knew each other and were referencing a specific incident that had occurred between them. And they giggled about it, even though I clearly had the funniest combo played. I'm not bitter, you're bitter. I was a little disheartened for about 10 seconds when benign showed up more than 5 times. But then I started really looking at them and I realized that it wasn't benign at all. I mean, true, individually, the cards had been benign cards, but put together, they created an incongruity, a violation. And out of 176 hands of Cards Against Humanity, 175 of the winning hands were benign violation mix. You can try it for yourself.
How neat is that? That's pretty neat.
Okay, guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be on the next episode, as I'm apparently currently rather frantically rewriting the whole series. So, next time on Could Help, 2 colossal Jaeger robots will fight for their right to party, or something else. You know what? Actually, next episode, we're going to talk about philosophers who had some tea, and then I'm going to ask a favor of you. Yeah. So until then, I will help, and this could help. Bye, guys. Different people for each game, and while I was allowed to submit whoa, that bitty. I know. We're gonna lightly touch on what mankind. So yeah, the 3 rallied behind beliefs in history are superiority belief, superiority theory. So yeah. The 3 historically rallied behind beliefs are superiority theory, relief theory, and incredulity. Wow. Wow. I don't know what happened there. Will has a stroke, take 2. He hypothesized that laughter was the only way we had to release nervous, uncomfortable energy. And then he told us we were all motivated by